today's ceremony. Lieutenant Colonel Sharon McWhorter, Senior Advisor of the Regional Support Unit, will now come forward for the introduction.
World War I in 1918, we gather at this place of remembrance and reflection. Our thoughts turn to a generation of allies who lived and breathed the ideals of courage and honor, service and sacrifice. There are 289 British and Commonwealth servicemen and civilians, women and children, who still lie buried in the Royal Air Force Cemetery here at Habbaniyah. 257 of these are in war graves from World War II, maintained by the Commonwealth War Graves Commission. In addition to these graves, the cemetery contains a memorial to 107 Royal Air Force Iraqi Levis who died while serving in Iraq. They are buried in remote and unmaintainable graves, made up of 5 panels of stone on which the names are carved, along with an appropriate inscription, and flanked on each side by the badge of their units. The names are built into the wall at the extreme end of this main avenue. Beneath the names is a seat with a flower trough at each end. The inscription in English, Arabic, and Assyrian reads, "These men gave their lives while serving their comrades of the Royal Air Force." Today's ceremony is steeped in tradition of the Royal Air Force and its allies. The songs are full of meaning, and they are symbolic of faith, strength, resolve, and appreciation of sacrifice. The poppies are symbolic flowers that bloomed across some of the worst battlefields in World War I. Their red color, an appropriate symbol for the bloodshed of warfare. Today I will share some words of President George W. Bush, President of the United States, in his Veterans Day proclamation. Through the generations, men and women in uniform have defeated tyrants, have liberated continents, and set a standard of courage and idealism for the entire world. On this Remembrance Day, we pay tribute to those who have proudly served. Through their sacrifice, they have helped to destroy the enemies of freedom and saved millions from oppression. They have created a debt of honor that we can never fully repay. We stand here as one team of many countries, in a place where brotherhood to a noble cause will chart a new direction and write a new page in history.
Chaplain Jenkins of the United States Army will now come forward. Please join him in reading the Lord's Prayer.
As we bow together, I think it is appropriate that we realize we are on hallowed ground. Sacrifices have obviously been offered. I ask that all of us in our own traditions honor our God. I invite those who choose to share with me the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Now I shall be reading Flanders Fields. I simply want to mention the fact that the author of this himself eventually would fall literally in the that he spoke of, Lieutenant Colonel J.M. McCrae, was killed May 1918. He actually lay wounded for 3 days before his death. He had written this 3 years earlier. So we honor him, we honor those of whom he spoke. And Flanders Fields speaks of a specific place, but it also is everywhere. That persons have died for that greater good, that greater cause for which they were willing to give themselves. So I ask you to listen as I read in Flanders Fields. In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place. And in the sky, the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Fields. I'm going to ask Captain Edens if he will come and join me. You are invited to sing with us, Abide with Me. You will see it in your program. We're going to sing together the first 3 stanzas of this hymn. But before we sing, I'm going to read the entire hymn because of its powerful meaning, and then we shall sing together the first 3 stanzas. The hymn goes this way. Abide with me, fast falls the eventide. The darkness deepens, Lord, with me abide. When others helpers fail and comforts flee, help of the hopeless, oh, abide with me. Swift to its close ebbs out life's little day. Earth's joys grow dim, its glories pass away. Change and decay and all around I see. O thou who changest not, abide with me. Not a brief glance I beg, a passing word, but as thou dwellest with thy disciples, Lord, familiar, condescending, patient, free, come not to sojourn, but abide with me. Come not in terrors as the King of Kings, but kind in goods, with healing in thy wings. Tears for all woes, a heart for every plea. Come, friend of sinners, and thus abide with me. Thou on my head in early youth didst smile, and though rebellious and perverse meanwhile, thou hast not left me, oft as I left thee. On to the close, O Lord, abide with me. I need thy presence every passing hour. What by thy grace can foil the tempter's power? Who like thyself my guide and stay can be, through cloud and sunshine, Lord, abide with me. I fear no foe, with thee at hand to bless. Ills have no weight and tears no bitterness. Where is death's sting? Where grave thy victory? I triumph still, if thou abide with me. Hold thou thy cross before my closing eyes. Shine through the gloom and point me to the skies. Heaven's morning breaks, and earth's vain shadow flee. In life, in death, O Lord, abide with me. I'm going to ask Captain Edens to play through this once, and then we shall sing the first 3 stanzas together.
Brigadier the Honorable Hugh Monroe will now come forward and address the masses.
It is inspiring to be in this Commonwealth War Grave Cemetery at Habbaniyah, the site of the Royal Air Force Station here from 1934 to 1959. To be here with so many of you from so many different countries and with our Iraqi friends, salam, and Nepal, namaste, makes today's service of remembrance particularly poignant. I'm very grateful to Lieutenant Colonel Sharon McWhorter for inviting us here and allowing us to have this service. And especially to all of you who have put so much effort into improving the state of this cemetery. Having actually arrived here now, what you have done is quite magnificent, and I cannot thank you enough. And I can tell you it is greatly appreciated, especially by those who served here before. It is also a wonderful opportunity to have our MNSTC-I chaplain here, Padre Jenkins, to take the service. Thank you very much, Chaplain. We are here to remember our war dead, and traditionally we commemorate the service of those who died in the 2 world wars. But increasingly, and over recent years, we remember those who have died in conflicts since the Second World War. So we will remember today those who have died in the cause of freedom. And sadly, many of you who are stationed here in Habbaniyah will have so many current tragedies to remember. And today is a chance to commemorate not only the war dead of previous wars, but also of friends you have lost more recently in conflict to provide a free Iraq. This is Armistice Day, and I believe that we must never forget those who have died, not only so that their sacrifice is not forgotten, but also because by commemorating them, their spirit survives in us. It is the 90th anniversary this year of the Battle of the Somme, the First World War battle in France when hundreds of thousands of young British soldiers lost their lives. Never before and never since have the British Army lost so many soldiers in a single battle. The Somme for us showed the true horror of war. Just like our coalition soldiers and our Iraqi counterparts serving in Iraq today, the British armies that fought at the Somme were true volunteers fighting for their country. Like Gallipoli for the Australians and the New Zealanders, and I guess Guadalcanal and Iwo Jima for the United States, the Somme remains a tragic and defining sacrifice in the cause of freedom. And as a result of the carnage of the First World War, and like so many other countries, Armistice Day became a day to remember the dead. And I'm very conscious today that the United States are remembering the veterans and those who served. So there are slightly different connotations. Every year, we Brits wear our Flanders poppies and make a solemn and publicly declared promise: we will remember them. But it is not just the soldiers of the Great War we remember, but every soldier, sailor, airman and marine lost since. And today I know we will all remember our friends and colleagues killed since 9/11. And this act of remembrance, together by us at Habbaniyah, itself the site of a famous battle in 1941, but also in the center of the conflict here in Iraq, somehow adds a degree of moral strength to this service. My personal act of remembrance on Armistice Day normally takes place high on the summit of Edinburgh Castle Rock. There is positioned Scotland's National War Memorial, a national shrine built by public subscription after the First World War. It houses the regimental rolls of the dead of every Scottish regiment, as well as the other regiments of the Army and the Royal Navy, the Royal Air Force and the Merchant Marine. It records the name of every Scot killed in battle or as a result of enemy action since 1914. The number of names recorded totals over 200,000. Tragically, over this year alone, 5 more Scottish soldiers' names have been added, killed in Iraq and Afghanistan. A shrine of extraordinary calm and beauty, it is a perfect place to remember. If ever you find yourselves in Edinburgh, please find that shrine in the castle. I tell you, when you get there, you can't miss it. It will change your perception of war and encourage you to believe that mankind can triumph over the evil of war. Yeah. The theme of the Scottish National War Memorial is the triumph of peace over war and the survival of the spirit. That the spirit of those who have died in war survives in those who commemorate them. And this is expressed in the act of commemoration in itself. And that is exactly what we are doing here today. So, please, when asked later in the service to remember, make the promise. We will remember them with the sincerity and commitment it deserves. Thank you.
Brigadier Monroe will now come forward and lay a wreath on behalf of the United Kingdom. Honored today to have a member of the Royal Australian Army to honor their fallen country. Major Leo Monkovich of the Royal Australian Army, come forward. Major Monkovich will be laying a wreath on behalf of Australians and New Zealanders.